Well, hello and welcome to another trading day right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Here's a top story we're tracking today. As Dr. Sidi takes over as the president of the Africa Development Bank Group after a decade of leadership by Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, we get a sense of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina's legacy. And it's great to have you join us. I'm Ladi Williams. Before we get into that, let's check out most of the markets that we track now. We know the markets are still trading. We did see oil there. Earlier in the morning, oil was trading kind of mixed. It wasn't a convincing trade yet, but we're seeing more movement right now. Investors showing where they're stashing cash at this point, but it's a bigger 0.90% advance, $68.09 a barrel. That's what we have for Brent crude. WTI crude, that's at $64.65 a barrel. That's a trade, a big 1% jump. So we're starting the month of September looking quite strong there for the oil market. Let's get a check on metals now. Let's get a check on what's playing out with the metals market. We see gold there hit a more than 4-month high today. Big jump, 0.7%, $3,470 per ounce. That's for spot gold. U.S. gold futures. That's a bigger rise, 0.8%, $3,543 per ounce. Then finally, spot silver with a big 1.6% rise there, hits the $40 level for the first time in a while, with 31 cents in change there. So that's a big one we'll keep an eye on, with spot silver there hitting that $40 level. Then we see platinum at 0.9% up. So it's green across the screen in the metals market with palladium. That's not left out there, 0.8%. And definitely we know what drives sentiment with metals. It's uncertainty. And when investors feel uncertain about a particular issue, they try to stash into safety there, the safe haven. That's for the metals market. And we're seeing that bullish run to start the month of September. All right, let's get into other stories now. Zimbabwe has commenced a nationwide perception and confidence survey to evaluate the public trust and the usage of the Zimbabwean gig currency more than a year after its introduction. The central bank introduced ZiG on the 5th of April 2024 as part of wide-ranging currency reforms to stabilize the monetary system. At the same time of the launch, the RBZ carried out a baseline survey which revealed an acceptance rate of over 80%, signaling strong public embrace of the new unit of exchange. The survey is aimed at ensuring that ZiG continues to perform its intended role as a medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account, while also assessing the confidence levels of Zimbabweans towards their own currency. All right, the Ethiopian Civil Aviation Authority is set to launch an interregional air transport service aimed at improving connectivity across cities and regions of East African country. During a consultation with private airline operators, Edenshol Yegezu, that's advisor for air transport and international affairs at the authority, said the new initiative set to begin in the Ethiopian calendar year starting September 2025. It will connect cities and regions through both scheduled and non-scheduled flights. Planned routes include connections from Mizanteferi to Jima, Gambela, and Asosa, as well as a corridor linking the Dawa, Harar, and Bale Road. Additionally, routes under the consideration include Bahir Da, Gondar, and Lalibela, Mekele, Axum, and Hawassa, Alba, Minch, and Jinka. Those are the routes that will be connected right there in Ethiopia. And yes, I did talk about Dr. Sidi taking over as the president of the African Development Bank Group after a decade of leadership by Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. In this next report, our business editor in the John McCrae shares highlights of the work of Dr. Adesina as the president of the AfDB. Take a listen.
Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, Nigerian Minister of Agriculture, was elected this Thursday president of the AfDB in Abidjan.
2015, a new journey began in the career of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina as he took over the leadership of the African Development Bank Group as the 8th president from the then outgoing President Donald Kaberuka, who led the bank from 2005 to 2015.
You can fit it in. You can see. But I just want to say to President Kaberuka that you don't have to look back and worry about your legacy. Your legacy is secure. You've done a tremendous amount of job. And as somebody taking over from you, I will build on that tremendous legacy that you have left us.
He set to work immediately, capturing his vision and mission as High Five. Channels Television was one of the first to meet up with him as he elaborated on what his vision means.
The High Fives are basically the priorities of the bank. The first one is to light up and to power Africa. The second one is to feed Africa. The third one is to industrialize Africa. The fourth one is to integrate Africa. The fifth one is quite exciting for me, is to improve the quality of life of the people of Africa. We call them the High Fives, that are top priorities of the bank.
To achieve the High Five, Dr. Adesina led the team to create and implement programs which should specifically address the noted and prioritized challenges. They include the Climate Action Window, which attracted $4 billion in subscription, African Adaptation Acceleration Program, a $25 billion initiative on scaling climate resilience, affirmative finance action for women in Africa, providing $2.5 billion in financing over 24,000 women-owned businesses, technologies for African agricultural transformation, which benefited over 22 million farmers, Light Up and Power Africa, which has provided access to electricity for over 28 million people.
These 5 days of training will further strengthen your knowledge and skills in the day-to-day tools you require to deal with the challenges you face in debt management, transparency, and sustainability in your respective countries.
Dr. Adesina also gave attention to debt management on the continent, and that led to the creation of Public Finance Management Academy for Africa, also Debt Management Forum for Africa, the launch of Africa's macroeconomic performance and outlook, and there's also Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank. And in Nigeria, the focus was largely on adding value to agricultural value chain, especially through special agro-industrial processing zones, which are economic hubs in rural areas to boost commercial agriculture, increase productivity, and attract private sector investment, and ultimately enhance export revenues and reduce imports in participating countries. 5 years into his leadership, the COVID-19 pandemic struck and disrupted normal activities in the world.
Before the COVID-19,
Dr. Adesina had the responsibility to customize the response of the AfDB to suit the new realities for Africa.
Africa has lost over a decade of economic growth. Africa's recovery will be long and difficult. Now we must help Africa to build and to build back boldly, but smartly, paying greater attention to quality growth, health, climate, and the environment. Yet, even in these changing times, the board of directors of the African Development Bank Group pulled together to support Africa. The bank launched a $10 billion COVID-19 response facility to support African countries. We launched, as you heard in that video, a $3 billion social bond on the global market, the largest US dollar denominated social bond ever in world history. These actions reflect our ambition, our unshaken commitment, and unyielding responsibility to support, stabilize, and strengthen African economies.
While handling COVID-19, Dr. Adesina's first term elapsed, And amidst face masks and social distancing as well as controlled in-person gatherings, he got a nod of the board for a second term in office. This allowed him to continue the work of empowering the continent to overcome the impact of COVID-19 and also accelerate inclusive development for Africans. Achievement for the continent also led to achievements for the institution as it recorded its largest capital increase from $93 billion in 2015 to a reported $318 billion, and this has vastly increased its lending capacity. There's also the record fund replenishment, which is the bank's concessional window for low-income countries. It's been raised to a record $8.9 billion for its most recent replenishment. Through a joint initiative with other partners, it has mobilized over $200 billion in investment commitments, positioning Africa as a key investment destination, and it consistently maintained its AAA credit rating from major global rating agencies.
Now let us go to work. I am ready.
As Dr. Akinwumi Adesina concludes his tenure and hands over to the 9th President, Sidi Ould of Mauritania, whose election was in May 2025, the world will be watching the direction of the institution's developmental work for the continent at a time when trade tariffs emanating from the United States is reshaping trade routes and partners. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
All right, let's discuss more on the legacy of Dr. Adesina with Professor Banji Oyelaran Oyeyinka, who is the Senior Special Advisor on Industrialization to the President of the Africa Development Bank. It's great to have you on the show, sir. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So I knew you worked closely with Dr. Adesina. What was it like working with him?
Oh, it's difficult to describe. You are constantly in an environment of high speed, a constant environment of relentless pursuit of what is best and good for Africa. Dr. Adesina is a human hurricane. It's very well known by many in the bank and outside that he doesn't sleep. We call him renewable energy. He doesn't relent, whether on the plane, whether in the office, whether at home. It's all about work and all about what is good for Africa, why we must not waste any minute. It's been a fantastic pleasure working with him. I'm not sure I've worked with any leader of this in this mode. He's an inspiration to the staff. His passion, his leadership in crisis, like you mentioned, for example, during COVID, was unprecedented. The president quickly rallied all of us, came up with this $10 billion facility, and also the $3 billion social bond. But more remarkably was actually the way the whole thing was executed. We were meeting every week. Recall that there were 54 countries in Africa, and we were meeting every week for hours on end to prepare the facilities for each country. We met for 26 weeks, non-stop, and he was sharing. Sometimes we are there for 12 hours. You start in the morning, and you don't end until we fulfill the goal for that day. So that's Dr. Akinwumi Adesina.
Thank you so much for painting that picture, for us. But, we know the COVID period was obviously a very trying time, that needed quick decisions to meet up with, new challenges. For you, what are some of the outstanding decisions that the bank had to make to navigate, through that period?
Exactly. And I mentioned those two. One of them was this $10 billion response to support all countries. You remember, supply chains were disrupted, countries were locked down, famine, food insecurity, vaccines were not available, drugs were not available, and so we needed to respond. And he responded. While some people were wringing their hands, he responded immediately with that facility. And also the the US-denominated social bond of $3 billion that was also initiated to actually work towards alleviating poverty and actually looking at all those areas that normally traditional concessional money doesn't go to. But one of the more long-lasting institutional arrangements that evolved out of COVID was what we call the Africa Pharmaceutical Technology Foundation, which came up to mitigate the longer term, not just the immediate. The president and staff came up with this institution that's now based in Rwanda. And the whole idea is to ensure that Africa doesn't find itself in that particular situation again in the future. The APTF is configured to negotiate intellectual property rights, to ensure that we have access to knowledge, to ensure that countries are able to also manufacture their own APIs, and so forth, and also to train people to respond to such situation in the future. So that's the more long-lasting solution. But as I told you, there was no let-up for 26 weeks on all of the countries got their budget support. It was an incredible period, and it made a lasting impression on all of us about his leadership, about the kind of passion he has for the poor and the hungry and the sick. It was a time that many people were in despair, but we turned that despair into a time of action.
And definitely that's not left our minds, so far. But before I let you go, the work of industrializing Africa, not an easy one. Any idea on the plans of Dr. Tar?
I have no doubt, because by the way, we worked with Dr. Tar, Dr. Sidi Ould when he was the president of Badia, and he supported us a lot. Africa Development Bank, one of the strengths of that bank is the convening power it has to bring together partners into all kinds of alliances. For example, in the special agro-industrial processing zone that I've been leading with colleagues, Dr. Tar actually gave $300 million to the phase 2 of the Nigeria SAPZ without any pressure at all. It was, and also it brought Badia into what we call the Alliance for the Special Agro-Industrial Processing when he was in Badia as president. So I have no doubt in my mind that he recognizes the importance of industrialization. And as you know, the Special Agro Zone is one of the instruments for us to industrialize Africa. Any poor nation that wants to industrialize, first you have to modernize your agriculture. And that is actually the long-term mandate of the SAPZ. When you modernize agriculture, you begin to produce food at scale. You begin to add value to your produce. You also begin to be, not just be, as we have now a situation in Africa, where we're importing foods that we should be producing. Africa has 65% of all uncultivated arable land in the world. So that is a target for industrialization, to ensure that we modernize our techniques and we use tools that others have used to get to the point of wealth. What has held Africa back is industrialization. And I have no doubt in my mind that the new leadership will continue to push for Africa's industrialization. We have no choice, really. If you don't industrialize, you remain poor. There is no other instrument used by any country throughout of history without the industrial dynamics to make sure that your country doesn't remain at the lower rung of the poor, right from the Industrial Revolution in the UK, right up to continental Europe, to the US, to the Asian tigers in Asia, Japan, right, and all of that. It's about industrializing. And industrializing for us equates to economic growth.
All right, definitely. I do wish the new leadership all the luck at this point to carry out this industrialization mandate, and we do wish Dr. Adesina the best, with his future endeavors. Thank you so much for coming on, Professor Banji Oyelaron Oyeyinka, the Senior Special Advisor of Industrialization to the President, AfDB. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thanks for all your support over the years.
Thank you, sir. All right, so to other stories now. Egypt will invest in a pipeline to link up with the pipeline Israel and building to Anitzana And that's according to reports in Egypt there after the huge $35 billion deal with Leviathan Partners, following the huge $35 billion gas deal between Leviathan Partners and Egypt, and preparations for approval of the Nitzana pipeline in Israel, which will allow for increased exports. Egypt has approved the construction of the pipeline from its side at an investment of about $400 million. All right, let's get a check on what's playing up in Europe now. And definitely we have Lars Holter with the details. Great to have you, Lars. A brand new month, brand new week. What are we seeing in Europe today? Hello, Lars.
By about 0.3%. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you can carry on. I can hear you.
We had a little bit of technical troubles here, Ladi. Anyway, here we are on this first day of trading here in September. I got to tell you, September is traditionally not a strong month for the DAX. However, of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Today, we're actually, like I said, seeing a pretty decent start, but it's still mostly sideways trading. We've seen this, of course, for a while, and we'll likely see it for a few more days. There's a big meeting today with the defense industry getting together. That's a little bit of a highlight of the day for many investors over in Frankfurt, looking at the shares of that sector there. They've had a pretty good run, of course, and will likely get some more support from the government, as everyone in the EU right now, of course, is massively investing in defense these days. So we'll see what we're going to hear from that meeting, if there's any signals coming out. Maybe it pushes stocks up a bit more.
Fantastic. We're looking out for that, but we know we're getting to the end of summer. And it's harvest season, and we hear that the new crop report is out. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, first of all, Ladi, it's a good report. That's the most important line here, after we've seen obviously some weakness in previous years. And this year's summer, to be honest, wasn't quite average either. Let's look at the numbers here. German farmers are expecting to bring in around 43.5 million tons of wheat this year. That's better than the last 2 years. Last year, the harvest stood at 39 million tons. So we're actually seeing a plus of more than 11%. But again, it didn't always look that great. Earlier this summer, we had a lot of rain all across Germany, and it did kill a lot of crops. I've actually personally seen fields of wheat where everything had literally been flattened by the heavy downpours. And farmers are saying that the rain did cause a delay as well in harvesting, as they couldn't take out the machines when the wheat was ripe. Oftentimes, plants had to stay out in the field a bit longer until the harvest could actually begin, and that has apparently lowered the quality in some regions. There are some cases where the harvest can no longer be sold for flour or bread making. Now, it's still apparently not too many cases where this is happening, but they are becoming more common.
All right, definitely looking out for how, climate change impacts that season right there in Europe. But thank you so much, Lars Holter, for helping us break down the details of what's playing out there.
Thank you, Ladi.
All right, so see, the Web3 movement took center stage in Lagos at a SWE Lagos meetup, where 220 developers, innovators, and blockchain enthusiasts gathered for a high-energy showcase of Africa's expanding role in decentralized technology. Held at Good House Ikeda, the 5-hour event attracted participants from a pool of over 800 registrants, reinforcing Lagos's reputation as one of Africa's most dynamic hubs for blockchain adoption and innovation.
When people think of crypto, they think of scams, but it's entirely different. There's a wealth of possibilities on SWE. We talk investment, DeFi. We are used to the usual storing, keeping our money in banks, but there are a lot of other use cases here on SWE. We have APYs and APRs of over 200% on your assets. So that's something that is very important. When people want to utilize their funds, you just don't keep it sitting. There are ways that you can utilize them on SWE. And one way is through DeFi. This is our third event, and ever since the first event where we had 300 signups, this one we had 800 and something. So basically, I would say initially it was about SWE bringing the event together, but now it's bigger than us. It's like the community that wants this event because they keep showing up in their numbers. And so the motivation really is for us to bring every single person, every single participant, validators, community managers, reply guys, developers, to come and connect at this event and pretty much know each other, network, and see what we are building in the future.
All right, so that's the show today. Definitely markets starting off, some markets starting off quite slow, but some are looking like they want to have a great September. But we'll give you all the details right here tomorrow. Do stay with us. Thanks for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.